Parents of Reddit, what lessons have you tried to teach your kids that completely backfired? I wanted to teach my son the value of money and work ethic because he kept wanting Robux. I decided it would be a great teaching moment and a win-win opportunity as he was just getting to the age in which I think he should start doing chores around the house. He really wanted to buy some skin or something, so I created a chore chart and gave each chore a value. We established a schedule and everything. It was working out majestically. Every day without asking he was doing dishes, cleaning his room, picking up the dog poop. It was epic. Then one day, I came home and nothing had been done. I asked him, "Hey man, what's up with the dishes? Oh, and go pick up the dog poop too." He simply replied, "Nah." Fighting back rage, I simply said, "Excuse me?" He said he made enough money over the last X days that he bought his skin and he was good now. It was hard to argue. Not a parent, but my in-laws love telling this story about my fiance. He was resistant to potty training, and they eventually got him to start using the potty by telling him that he had to be out of pull-ups before a family trip to Disney World because Mickey Mouse only sees big boys and girls. And also, who wants to lug a diaper bag around Disney? Anyway, it went great. They had a great trip, and the day after they got back, he took a poop in the living room. When asked, he said, "I don't gotta use the potty cause I already saw Mickey Mouse." They very firmly told him that if he was old enough to use logic, he was far too old for diapers, and that was the end of that. When my older son was about 3 or 4 years old, we realized he was starting to act very spoiled and materialistic. We always tried to make him see how lucky he already had it, but he constantly begged us for every toy, candy, and treat he saw anywhere and everywhere. Around that time, I came across a great photo spread that involved the photographer traveling around the world and snapping photos of different children with their most prized possessions. Of course, the kids in the US, Canada, and Europe were mostly photographed in rooms filled with stuff. But there were also photos of children from impoverished nations, usually showing the child with only one old, dirty stuffed animal. I thought I was going to accomplish this brilliant parenting move by sitting him down and going through the photos with him. I'd explain how the kids with rooms like his were beyond lucky, and he should feel more than satisfied with all of the great stuff that he had. Then I would show him the other photos and he would finally understand that there are so many other children in the world with far less than he had. We looked through the photos and talked about each one. We finally got to one with a little boy standing on his cot with his one possession, a well-loved, dingy-looking stuffed monkey. My son looked at it for a long time. I could see his wheels spinning. Success, I thought. After a long bit of silence, he finally looked up at me, gave me a sweet smile and said, "I want that monkey." My dad tried to implement the whole "you must eat all the food on your plate" in our house during meals. My mom was never a fan of that lesson, but my dad was stubborn, so she just let it go. Well, one day my sibling had 2 to 3 bites of food left on their plate and was very clear that they were absolutely full and couldn't eat another bite. Dad wasn't having it and insisted they could not leave the table until all the food on their plate was gone. My sibling realized they weren't going to convince our dad that they were too full and finished the last few bites and then proceeded to vomit on the table and our dad. He stopped enforcing the rule after that. When I was about 2 years old, my family was at a game in Angels Stadium. My mother went to the restroom and left me and my siblings with my dad. While he was busy watching, I wandered off. When they eventually found me, I was halfway around the stadium. A crowd had gathered to watch as a police officer held me out at arm's length while I screamed, "Call the police. This man is not my daddy," over and over again. My parents had taught me stranger danger, but forgot to teach me what police look like. Call the police. Sir, we are the police. My parents taught me to call 911. When I saw somebody doing something illegal, I called the cops on the Wiggles movie I was watching when I was 5 because a clown stole a cake. Luckily, the 911 operator realized I was young. My story didn't make sense because it was a kid's movie. Asked to talk to my mom before sending out cops. I called 911 when I was 4 or 5 years old because I witnessed the mailman steal a letter out of my mailbox. I had to be told how the mail system worked after that. When I was a Cub Scout, my family and I attended a large fundraising dinner. This included a raffle with many prizes, the best of which was a brand new pool table. At the time, I had an allowance of $2 a week. I asked my parents if I could use up my allowance money for the next 6 weeks and spend $12 on raffle tickets to try winning the pool table. Everyone wanted that prize, and everyone was adding handfuls of tickets. There were dozens upon dozens stuffed into the jar. My parents decided that this would be a good lesson about the dangers of gambling. They agreed to let me use my allowance for the next 6 weeks, but warned that I wouldn't win the prize and would not be given any more money for quite some time. I'd have to learn the hard way not to pay with cash I didn't have. I won the pool table. Not a parent, but I work in a school. At my school we have a lot of kids with learning disabilities, more than in your average school, as we have a special program for it and get special funding. So one of the first lessons of the school year is everybody needs different things to learn. And if somebody is getting something different from you, it's because that's what they need to learn at school. You know, a kid-friendly way of explaining accommodations. Now, the usual accommodations we offer are special chairs/wiggle seats, extra breaks during the day, and extended testing time and tests taken in a quiet room. One kid, however, has decided to take the everyone learns differently lesson to heart and now talks in a fake British accent. I live in America by the way, all day, because it helps him learn. Then all of the other kids started talking in fake accents. Mrs., I require a crumpet and a spot of tea to continue my progress in education. Good day. When my son was about 3 or 4 he started to ask about how babies are born. I sat him down and gave him a very simple, age-appropriate explanation. He just looked at me, shook his head, and just said no. Very calmly but in a, I can't believe you think that's how it works tone of voice, like I'd told him fake news. I was prepared for difficult questions and even prepared for the fact that he might ask me things that even I didn't know, but I was completely unprepared for him to just simply not believe me when I told him the truth. I just sat there not knowing what to do while he went back to playing Lego. One of my 5-year-old twins was still having occasional accidents because she would get so caught up in playing/doing something else that she just wouldn't go and would pee her pants. To combat this, we would give her a special prize of some variety when she wouldn't have an accident. This, in turn, caused her twin sister to start having accidents so she could get prizes for not having accidents, even though she was fine on this front beforehand. We had to rethink our methods. Not a parent, but I remember when I was 17, my parents thought I was lying about where I was when I was going out, like I wanted to extend my curfew or something. Backstory, I'm from a really small town with really not a whole lot for teenagers to do. So my friends and I like to hang out at the Waffle House by this bar every Friday/Saturday night. It never failed. Like 3 or 4 drunk people would get arrested, and my friends and I like to watch. It was 10/10ths entertainment. So one night, stuff was going down one night at this particular Waffle House. So I called my parents and asked them if I could extend my curfew. I told them why, and they didn't believe me, so they called the Waffle House where I was and asked for me. When the waitress, who knew me well because I was there a lot, handed me the phone, my mom was like, "Oh, you really are at the Waffle House." I think that was the first time my mom realized that I was a loser. Needless to say, I got my curfew extension. My daughter used to always unbuckle her seatbelt to reach for things in the car, then not put it back on. We had a minivan at the time, so she was always moving around, saying I just need my backpack or whatever, and we were always telling her to sit down and get her seatbelt back on. She was maybe 8ish. I was home one night when she burst through the door, crying, blood on her face and clothes, and holding a t-shirt to her face. Husband close behind, shirtless. Husband looking very sheepish. I asked what in the world happened to them, thinking they had been in an accident. Nope, just a backfired lesson. Husband tried to show her what could happen if she wasn't buckled and he had to slam on his brakes. He claims he just tapped them, but clearly he didn't plan for her to propel forward, face hitting the seat adjustment thing on the back, bloodying her nose. He took his shirt off to help her stop the blood. Not sure if that helped her learn a lesson, but the car roaming seemed to subside, and she's a 19-year-old driver now who always wears her seatbelt. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.